Be
Get locked in. There we go. Let's see. I see 12 too.
oh, sorry, did it not? Did I say 12? Yeah, 12.
12-1.
Did I put 12-1? Sorry.
Maybe. If that's the only
12-1
deal,
then.
that's okay.
Yeah, it's in the thing. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. Because I was making the notes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Santos like taking people down with him.
He's just burning it down after. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, like I was a monster, and I happen to know a whole bunch of monsters who deserve to get caught in lies
Right.
just like me.
Oh my god. Oh, it's so good. It's just so good.
Laura is crying outside the office door because she does not have exactly the food that she wants.
Right.
But she will get tired, go eat that
Mhm.
food, then go to sleep.
Yeah.
I've learned that the hard way. Just have you ever been on like a cycle where you're swapping out food? Like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, try this.
Yeah. The problem is Chip will eat anything even if he doesn't like it.
Oh no.
So he'll just kind of suffer through it, the poor guy. He's like, I just love eating.
I just want you to know I ate that.
Okay, thank you. Getting there. Let's just switch over, and it's Johnny Million. I got my blue light glasses on, so because I've been
like 'em.
computering all morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
All right, so at the right
do
before we
this.
went on the air, Johnny Million, how are you this fine morning?
I'm great this fine morning. It's been
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, okay, so right before we went on the air, I sent Johnny down a rabbit hole of George Santos tweets because after being, kicked to the curb by his fellow Republicans, he decided, I guess, to go on some sort of like slaughter fest. He's just he's not holding anything back. His last, let me just say, his pinned tweet right now is just chapter 2. That's all he's doing. He is
Oh my
retweeting Laura Loomer, who is posting stuff about Nicole Maliotakis, who's another New York rep, about like how she magically invested
Became
in
a savant with investing.
right instantly.
He's the guy who's getting suspended
Yeah,
and going like, "Oh yeah, well, let me just
Yeah.
tell you, like, if they told on me, I'm telling on them."
that's exactly. And he is just dumping online right now.
And he's got
Um,
a lot. He's got
Right.
a lot.
He does. Now he is peppering it with stuff against Jamal Bowman for pulling the fire alarm and getting the misdemeanor against him and being really, really stupid. Oh my God, Hal Vickery, thank you so much
Hal
for the
Vickery.
super chat. Lovely, the support of the people for this show and keeping us going over these many years is just a lovely, lovely thing. And thank you for helping us grow. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you to people who super chat during the show. You guys are lovely
Yeah.
and generous and wonderful. And it just fills me with the holiday spirit, along with the idea that George Santos is just. I said it, Johnny Million. You
The hell
know
with
I
this
said.
place.
Yeah, right. Just turning over the desk. I said there would not be enough popcorn for 2023, and we are just sliding into home base covered in caramel corn at this
Seriously.
point. It's so good. He goes on Monday. I'll be filing an ethics complaint against Rep. Mike Lawler for questionable campaign finance violations. Monday, I will be filing an official complaint.
And believe me, I know questionable campaign violations.
Yeah, right. I know where all the bodies are buried because I still got the shovel, to quote the man in the Mark Wahlberg shooter. Oh, thank you for becoming a patron. Look at that. Is that YTube? I can't read it. It's so small on my side, but there it is.
One dumb?
Yeah. Anyways, bless you. Thank you for becoming a patron. Patreon.com/HalSparks. It's just lovely. Okay, so they, I don't know why, but they're really going after Nicole Malio Takis and calling her Nicole Malio Stock Tips.
He's doing the Trump nickname thing?
He is. I would argue, though, but smarter, because that's a play on her name, and it's kind of euphonic. It fits. It's not a direct rhyme, but it's it's fun. It's a party time.
All right, let me submit this. I think he has no moral compass. There's something wrong, but he's a little clever, and he's a little.
Well, you'd have to be. He'd have to be.
To get away with what he's gotten away with.
Right.
I mean, he has been juking and bobbing and weaving his whole career.
Life. Yes, and what do you do? Here's the thing. This is what people should have learned from Trump, and now they will definitely learn from the Santoses of the world. And this might, maybe, just possibly be a teachable moment for Republicans. Let me tell you what this is. This is one of the ways that con men and people like the Trumps and Santoses of the world get ahead the way they do is by cozying up to you and getting all your dirt, so that eventually, if you figure out what they're up to, you can't out them without outing yourself. That is a primary.
It's the way cults. It's the way like the creepy.
It's Scientology. He's the Scientology clear machine of the Republican Party. He hooked them all up to the anti-theta machine, and nipple clamped them up to an electrode and said, tell me all your past bad behavior. He's posted video of another New York Republican. What is it? Brandon for New York 22. I don't know which Brandon. Basically, at a Christmas party.
I didn't know any of the names that he was putting on.
Me neither, because they're all the Republicans around him, because they were in the New York delegation. So those are the first people he got dirt on. Thank you, Cat Cookie, for the super chat. Yeah.
Just came through with a crazy super chat. I've seen Socknitty on my
Socknitty,
stream.
thank you. Happy Santos spills the tea day. Oh my God, this is so good.
And Cat Cookie, oh my word.
Lovely. Thank you so much, you guys, for the support and taking care of us the way you do and making the show possible.
Sincerely. And I want you all to know that Hal is very kind to me.
Yeah. Well,
people actually think that like that you just kind of take advantage of me, like, oh yeah, Johnny's just there to do Hal's bidding. They have no idea how nice you are to me.
Aw, I think they have some idea.
But I defend you to just tooth and nail. They're like, because some people will be like, Hal could probably treat you better, and I'm like, how could Hal treat me better?
Yeah, I mean, I would literally have to be in Chicago doing the show just so I could give you a neck massage while we're on the air.
Man, let me tell you this: Hal gives amazing neck massages.
There you go. Thank you. For the record, yeah. And this is from a guy who used to make fun of me for hugging girls in high school, and even when they were platonic hugs.
I was jealous.
Oh, I see. I got it. I see. I didn't realize.
Yeah, that's it. So what did I do? As a high school kid, I was jealous of you. So what do I do?
Make me. Fun of you. Right. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But I remember in Kathy's apartment, when she lived like on Sheridan, like North Side. I had just like started working out again, and I completely blew out my shoulders. And you rubbed my neck and shoulders when we were watching a movie. Holy moly!
Yeah. Thumbs and elbows, all thumbs and elbows. Yeah. I can mix and match, and it's solid.
You got the little.
Yeah. Cat Cookie, thank you so much for that. That's just lovely. Also, here's how bad you can tell. I'll side cul-de-sacs into my finger manipulation skills aside. Here's how bad you can tell that George Santos tea spilling is. He's retweeting Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer, for those of you that don't know, is a tick that rides on the back of Marjorie Taylor Greene's neck all the time. She's a woman who has been trying to out MAGA MTG since she got in, or since she got in the circle anyways. And because I don't think she's in, she ran and she lost or whatever, but she's just been kind of like, all right, if you're going to let her in, but not me in, I'm dragging everybody down too. So she all the time on her Telegram channel is always dumping on MTG. Right. So again, this would be her function as a useful idiot. She would her broken clock stuff is when she decides to get a wild bug up her rear about MTG on, twice a day. And apparently she just decided to go after Dan Crenshaw. Now, Dan Crenshaw, the Republican who has the patch, many people know him as that. He's a Texas Republican.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. He goes, since we're talking about members of Congress who are participating in insider trading, let's talk about anti-Trump Congressman Dan Crenshaw, which by the way, I don't know how anti-Trump he actually is. She goes, do you remember when he said he wanted to ban TikTok? Well, he doesn't want to ban TikTok. He just wants to make money off his other big tech stocks. Spoiler, he's got a lot. He bought Meta on 10/25/22, and shortly after he argued for banning TikTok. On October 2022, he bought Meta stock for $130 a share. April 2023, backs a ban to ban TikTok. Let's see. Price then $130. Price today $324. Currently up 150% over the trade. Stock trading needs to be banned for members of Congress and their spouses. Right. Okay. Secondly, I would argue, for the record, that betting on Facebook, if you're trying to ban TikTok, is not the one-to-one. TikTok has a lot more alignment with Snapchat or Twitter than it has with Facebook. It is not a direct competitor for that. So I don't know that she has a case there, except for the fact that maybe Reels and Shorts are, on Facebook and other stuff are competing for those things. And but the reality is I'll tell you exactly why Dan Crenshaw bought Facebook stock when it was $130 a share or something, is because at that time, Musk was talking about how much he bought Twitter and what the advertising was going to be like. And somebody went and looked at like how well it's doing. And in that comparison, there's Facebook and then there's everybody else. And if you look at their return on their advertising, it's enormous compared to everyone else. And so the obvious thing is that, they've got the spread, they've got the growth, and they've got an actual money-making functional system already, where even if Twitter takes time to get up and running, it's privately owned now anyway, so it doesn't matter. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this with more of the tea, as it were. And also, my favorite story about the Freedom Caucus, which opens with a quote from another Republican congressperson. They're just a bunch of idiots. We'll be back right after this.
So many super chats.
I know. Oh, Arizona Sunflowers, thank you so much.
And Tom Ward and West Webb
Tom,
and Raven Kona.
Thank you, guys. You're amazing. No, you're amazing.
Unreal.
Yeah, hold on. I have to drag this up here. What is this? I have this one monitor that's, I don't know why it's like pink. Like the color on it is so weird.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got one that will, if like sometimes I'll bump it when I'm moving things around my desk and it'll just go pink. I'm like, oh, I need to restart.
Yeah.
Just unplug that. Let's reseat that HDMI.
Okay, so Levy,
There's Wes's super chat coming through.
Oh, Wes, thank you so much.
There's a strange woman lying in a pond distributing swords. That's one of my favorite.
No basis for a system of governance.
Yep.
Just because some watery tot loved a scimitar,
Exactly.
he didn't throw me away. Help, I'm being repressed. Come see the violence inherent in the system. Shut up. You saw him repress me, didn't you? You saw it.
If you're in a position where you cannot super chat, do not feel bad. We are so happy that you're here. Just click like and subscribe.
Yes, that's right. If you can't support us that way, just share the show. Give a like right now in the stream.
Yeah,
helps boost us in the live feed. Yeah, that's one of the other things too. Is that I didn't realize that till about a week ago when I was watching one of my YouTube camp videos, like how to do better at the better, and then you're doing the YouTube thing. Like I watch a lot of those, and one of them was like, oh, by the way, if you have a live stream, if they hit the like right away, it helps. Thank you, Raymond. If you hit the like right away, it boosts you to the front of the what's live portion of the show.
I like that. You hear that? You hear that, millionaires? Let's hit that like.
That's right. When you're on, just do it right away. You got to remind everybody right out of the gate.
Okay.
Time to invest in rat bags.
When a new person comes into the chat, my stream is so so narrow.
Yeah.
When people come in, they're like, "What the?"
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
All right, I have to share this one. Let's see. It's the news on this one because I gotta say, this is I think the Washington Post. Is this the Washington Post? Yeah, I think it might be. This article, but the opening of it is just fantastic. They're just a bunch of idiots. This is a quote. A quote by one of McCarthy's allies speaking on condition of scam-anonymity. That was, or wait, no, it was, I guess, well, it might be. They're intermixed in there. There's a bunch of people. So if you'll recall, let me bring you up to speed in case you've been in a coma or in cryogenic freeze, like Han Solo, where your last words were, "I know." The Republicans ousted Kevin McCarthy because he put forward a continuing resolution to move, to just basically carry the budget forward that Biden had already passed, that they'd agreed to early in the year, and just wanted to move on with it so they could fight other battles. Ironically, so they could fight their more social battles that would tee them up for the election next year. So this was McCarthy's strategy, and as dumb as he is, because it was like a group strategy by the leadership of the Republican Party and the RNC, like in general, and the House GOP, was, hey, this like debt ceiling thing and shutting down the government never works for us. We've tried it a bunch of times. It doesn't convince anybody. We might have some like people that we've talked about the debt and we sold that for a long time because we wound these people up with this idea, right? We wound them up and said,
the only lasting impact is that it kind of helps solidify whataboutism.
Right. Yeah. But even then, when Trump, all it does remind everybody that Trump is responsible for a third of our national debt right now. So it doesn't work. It didn't work during the debt ceiling argument. It didn't work during June's or like May, June shutdown. It didn't benefit them. They looked at the polls. It didn't help. And as a matter of fact, people think it was partly responsible for why they didn't get a bigger, share, why there was no red wave, because that distrust, right, that they were the chaos coalition was catching on. So McCarthy decides what's their big win: border and social issues. Maybe they still are doubling down on the abortion nonsense, but because they really do think there's a gold vein to be mined there. They're wrong.
I get that.
I don't either, but they really do think that. And so his plan was, and it's, again, they are stupid people with a good plan, which, again, it doesn't matter how good your plan is if the people implementing it are morons. And we saw the same thing on January 6th, although I would argue the plan was weak to begin with as well. It was a double whammy of idiots.
Plan.
Dumb plan run by dummies, right? So McCarthy had this idea. We'll punt. We'll do the CR, and then we'll make the argument in the presidential year that we just have to live with his budget, and we'll use that to get the president elected. We'll use that to get Trump elected. We'll use that to re-solidify our base around fiscal conservatism and go, we don't have enough people. You've got to come out for us to do this. But on the social issue, we can bury them on the border and bury them on crime and bury them on abortion. That's their theory. And that was his strategy. And I got news for you. It was partially working. The conversation about crime, the conversation about the border was starting to gain traction. And even, New York Times, Washington Post, what they always consider the liberal media, was running articles about this stuff. They were talking about the border using the same terms as the Republicans. It was taking hold.
Bingo,
McCarthy, it was actually working. And then Matt Gaetz rolls in and just decides to turn the Thanksgiving table over smash the whole thing to pieces, and get out McCarthy. Who cares who fills in? We'll get somebody else, and that person will know that next they have to listen to me, or the same thing will happen to them. So get Mike Johnson in. Nobody's heard of him, and Mike Johnson does the exact same thing. Mike Johnson, after a little bit of tap dancing, is doing the exact same thing McCarthy was doing. They continued the resolution, the $1.59 trillion budget that passed. They're continuing that exact one, and the argument that they made at their little gaggle that they had with with the Republicans when they all gathered. They always come out and do one of these like my colleagues and I we're standing up for the American people and blah, like that which is necessary, and you gotta basically, beyond what you vote for and beyond what you say on the floor, which people might not say, people may pay a little more attention to these little press gaggles with 8 or 10 Congress people, because the news will be watching them and it will spread out through everybody's constituency. So what happens is they may not catch, if you're a Texas congressperson, your district might make a little blurb about something you say on the floor, but they'll definitely add the footage or the words you said when you're amongst a group of other Republicans, because it seems more formative. And that's why these things happen. So they come out and do this. And Scott Perry, who is, again, king of the morons in this particular like free dummy caucus strategy that just are rake stomping everywhere they go.
Yeah.
They come out and announce that they're going to vote for the carry through of this $1.59 trillion budget for the fiscal year. And they had a proposal that would have forced Congress to cut $350 billion, cutting it down to $1.471 trillion for the 2024 fiscal year. But they can't get it passed because, wait for it, red states need the money more than blue states do. That's why. That's why.
Yeah.
The reason they can't get it passed is because their own constituency, their own caucus outside of the rest of the Republican Party is going, what are you doing? The stuff you're cutting goes right
We're
to
on
my
welfare
state.
here.
Right, exactly. We're trying to pretend we're autonomous and we don't need the federal government and we could drown it in a bathtub and stuff, but all the red states would suffocate if we didn't.
Yeah, I need my link card.
Like, you know how they talk about the death tax all the time? They're always talking about the wealth transfer.
We've got to abolish the death tax.
That's right. We've got to abolish which we, by the way, for the record, we have for everybody except people who just got lucky in the stock market, pretty much. Like farmers, anybody that wants to pass on a business. There's so many ways around the tax burden so you can leave your business to your kids and stuff like that. The problem is that if you have a Trump-like business, that's not what they want to do. They just want to pass on the cash and have those kids go, I earned it by putting up with my dad. And like, okay, that's not a job.
Right. No, but there are ways that very, very profitable people who are trying to leave money to their kids will slowly give a little gift every year just to keep the IRS from looking into it. There are ways to do this.
Oh, absolutely. And most people do it and get by just fine. And the IRS doesn't come down on them because it becomes a functional, like somebody building a reasonable nest egg and passing it on to kids. No problem with that whatsoever. Most people don't have a problem with that. It's the slapdash version of the Trumpies of the world or the Kushners of the world that make it sketchy, where they own real estate and then they sit on it and manipulate the market.
And then people living in mobile homes are voting to save the billionaires.
Yes, exactly. The irony of that is not lost on anyone, I don't think. But so anyways, so their argument was they came out and Scott Perry and all these guys said, we're keeping our commitment to our constituents who voted us in by not adding to Biden's $1.59 trillion budget for the fiscal year. That's how they're doing.
Let's call that balanced. Let's call that paid for.
Let's call it balanced. We'll do nothing. They'll do everything. And then we won't take any money out because if we did, red states all over the place would collapse under the weight of their own debt. And blue states would be, would just keep their money and invest it locally. like, we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million. You know, he's got 2 channels now. He's got a youtube.com/itsjohnnymellion and a twitch.tv/itsjohnnymellion. I'm on, I've got the Hal Sparks channel on YouTube, which you can go to within infotainmentwars.com. And we will have questions in our second hour for Philip Ittner, who's going to join us from Ukraine.
Yeah.
From there, we'll be back. I gotta just the blatant idiocy. God bless you. Oh God.
Thank you. I could have muted, but here we are. Stream,
Yes.
that was for you.
Yeah. Hold on, let's see.
And Hal, let me show you. I got something to show you that I'm very proud of.
Oh, look out. Oh, it's very exciting. Oh my God.
It's a Washburn Explorer.
Yeah, it looks like a cross between Paul Stanley's Iceman and an Explorer. That's gorgeous. Is that a mirrored pickguard or a metal pickguard?
Yeah, it's reflecting.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'll take out there we go. That's beautiful. That is lovely. Look at that.
And a reverse headstock. The neck is super wide.
We heard you, Chicago. We're back in what? Sorry?
50 now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Someone needs a cough drop.
That's true that.
Oh.
Try to bring this over. There you go. Yeah, sorry. On this one, I don't get to have
okay.
you green screen because I have a setup already, but I got to build another screen for us. Just for us, Johnny Million. But right now, this one works. Yeah. This is the quote. This is the whole piece of it right here. This is just so good. Oh, and the video. And okay, so
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
To quote the people who are not in amongst the Freedom Caucasians, what this goes to show is that everything that's been happening over the last few months is based entirely on ignorance or a lack of information or understanding, said another McCarthy ally who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal party tensions about the far-right flank. They're just a bunch of idiots. Freedom Caucus members said the calculation, listen to this, Johnny Million, was more to do with timing, blaming McCarthy for not adhering to their demands earlier in the year. They also agreed that they came around after recognizing the Senate had marked up their appropriations bill to a significantly higher level, making $1.59 trillion a realistically achievable cut to current levels. Moderate Rep. Joyce, Republican of Ohio, serves on the Appropriations Committee, said the Senate is overshooting the codified top line, and House Republicans marking up their bills under it meant that the two chambers would likely land back at the number agreed to by McCarthy and Biden. That was the point, is that they want to cut. They were selling this idea. The Freedom Caucasians were like, we need to cut $350 billion from this. And so they send the bill up to the Senate, and the Senate takes the baseline 159, adds $350 billion to it, sends it back and goes, have at it. Go ahead. Cut your $350 billion.
Oh, what exactly are we supposed to cut? I don't know. You figure that part out.
Just a bunch of idiots. It's so good. Now, in the meantime, Johnny Million, Strange Woman lying in ponds, distributing swords has gifted subscriptions. Yeah, you can do that as well. That's really lovely of you. Hold on one second. So the other thing that came up, and you'll recall this, Johnny Million, I'm sure, is the big story, the huge story. McCarthy was going to release all the footage from Jan 6, all 46 billion hours of it. And apparently in flipbook form, so you could go frame by frame, like it was a billions of Brooder films, and they would be able to, and he would give it to the press, and everybody could look at it, and then that got narrowed down to, well, just Tucker Carlson, and not giving it to Tucker Carlson, but just giving him and his staff the ability to go to this one place and look at it. and take whatever they want. But they have to go through it at this place because there were still security concerns about, again, the positioning of certain doors in the Capitol, positioning of certain cameras in the Capitol. You wouldn't want to give
FBI dressing up as MAGA Trump Republicans.
And you don't want them gaining all that weight and developing type 2 diabetes. You know, in the greatest undercover sting action, since I guess Christian Bale played Cheney. You wouldn't want you wouldn't want to have them go to waste, would you? Well, one of the first things that came out was the way that Mike Johnson got his job essentially right now was a couple of the deals that he made, and they were way easier deals to make than the previous deals that McCarthy was forced to make, because nobody expected another person to fall for this idiocy again. Nobody was going to go, oh, we'll just let whoever, dictate whether I stay in office. That's brilliant. So nobody expected, whether it was any of the other people they were voting for, Scalise or even Jim Jordan or whatever, if they'd have made it, to have to follow those rules, right? Nobody did that. So Mike Johnson got an easier ride, quite frankly, into the speakership than McCarthy did to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So, it's just beautiful.
It's all just petty.
Now, the other thing was, is releasing all this footage. 46,000 hours of Jan 6 footage available to everyone. And they're like, it's finally happening. And I saw on my regular live stream, we've seen it a couple times over the last couple weeks. Oh my God, it was just a tourist activity. Look at all these peaceful people just walking down hallways, doing nothing. I don't even see any video of cops getting hit. The cops started it. That's my favorite new one, was that that the maggots wouldn't have charged up the steps and attacked the cops if the cops hadn't fired tear gas and smoke into the crowd that had already breached the line and beat up cops to do it. I don't know why didn't they roll out the red carpet? Oh, is it micro? Is that what we're calling him? All right. So this is Speaker Johnson and the committee have there was a motion that they put forward. Speaker Johnson and the committee have recognized the continued privacy and security concerns in releasing the footage. They're releasing a limited amount of the footage there, which is great. So they're slow rolling it. We'll do section 1. We'll release this amount, and then we'll release a little more, and then a little more, and that's how. Except they released the first tranche, and then they just are going to blow off the rest. So they let's see. What is it? U.S. Attorney for Washington D.C. Michael Graves challenged calls to lift the protective order on the footage in Friday court filing that notes that the speaker has only been able to manage a quote limited release. Speaker Johnson and the committee have recognized the continued privacy and security concerns in releasing such footage. The motion reads, as of the date of this motion, the committee's online viewing room appears to have made only approximately 90 clips. 46,000 hours, by the way. 46,000 hours. They've made only approximately 90 clips of surveillance footage publicly available. Johnson initially promised to make the footage available as he tried to appease Republican lawmakers, angered by his decision to work with Democrats to keep the government funded. The New York Times noted at the time, the footage has long been demanded by far-right Republicans who all think that, and this is the premise, right, Johnny Million? Follow me, correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah.
The people that showed up for Donald Trump that way thought the election had been stolen and thought Mike Pence was going to maybe change his mind, throw it back to the legislatures, and state legislatures would bring in their own people, their own electors, and the from Ted Cruz coordinating with the Republicans in the House, they would drag the vote to a halt, and those people would be there just to make sure that Mike Pence did what he said he was not going to do. So Donald Trump says you're going to have to walk down there peacefully and patriotically, but if Mike Pence doesn't have the strength to do what's going, you're going to have to be strong or we won't have a country left. Which means
you're going to have to kill him.
Right. Don't tear up the shrubbery on your way down there and keep it on the DL so that they don't expect you to build the gallows on the grounds. So the other thing is but the premise of the right-wing conspiracy is is that maggots in general, followers of Donald Trump and Republicans, far-right conservatives and Republicans, are so dough-headed and simple that all they wanted to do was storm up bring Confederate flags, guns, knives, provisions to hold siege the Capitol on the steps, like for days and days, while Mike Pence, while the electors rode on horseback down and picked up the new electors and rode back and, swapped them out like it's the 1800s in some weird version of the postman that they all live in. And that
While
they were
Antifa
never
was busy building the gallows.
Sure, absolutely. But that they were going to just sit there and hang out and until this all played out. But some FBI informant / agent, which they don't seem to know the differences, whispered in the ear of these folks and said the magic words. Ray Epps said the magic words. And the magic words were, hey man, cool it, the cops are just doing their job. And apparently in MAGA world, where back the blue is an ironic hashtag, that is the code for it's go time. It's go time. And by the way, never whisper that in your weird uncle's ear at a holiday dinner. Never walk up to your MAGA relative and whisper in their ear, take it easy, man. The cops are just doing their job, because they'll go into like Manchurian candidate mode and start tearing stuff up. And I guess they'll go to their car and get a Confederate flag, start running around your living room with it, and take a dump in the kitchen. I don't know what, it'll just trigger their programming, I guess, because maggots are so, this is their argument, not my argument. This is not my argument. I'm not saying this, Johnny Million. I'm saying that according to the right wing, MAGA machine, if you tell these people to go easy on the cops and not attack, they will attack. That's the game.
They'll stab you.
How do you not? How do you not expect them? How do you not? Yes, they're I wouldn't call them the winter soldiers. I'd call them more like the winter wanderers. It's a winter wonderland, and that is, and so supposedly the footage was going to show that there were FBI. They would see who was whispering to who, whispering the magic words that turned these free-floating idiots into robot idiots and drove them into the Capitol to commit acts of violence against police officers and eventually get a woman shot and stomp another woman to death who was dying of an overdose at the time, and then get the very cops that they were beating moments ago to try and revive her after they notice she's down, right? That crowd. All they were going to do was lay siege to the Capitol from the outside until an FBI agent whispered the magic words, and off they went. That's the plan. And that this footage will show that. They will show that not only were these people peaceful up until the point where police started responding to violence that was never happening in the first place, but that they'll be able to pick out of the crowd the whisperers, the maggot whisperers. That's the theory. And so they've been waiting for Mike Johnson to release this footage so that they can scour through it and find out who the FBI MK Ultra hypnotists were that were wearing Jiminy Glick fat suits, wandering around with bottles of Gatorade around them and I kill because the top of the mountain is my only territory, no fear shirts that are stretched to their absolute limits, wearing socks and sandals to an insurrection, which, again, if you needed more evidence that it wasn't going to work, that's all you need. So we gotta take a break. Again, it's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. So far, 90 clips. 90. Yeah, the Gravy Seals. A lot of people called them. Those are the people who are dressed for war. Yeah, the Gravy Seals. Apparently, they just showed up. They were just going to stand there and protect police officers from peaceful MAGA people. I don't know why you would need to drive to Washington, D.C. to plan that in your head if you didn't think there was going to be violence to start with. It's interesting. But then you decided, heck with it, let's go in. And so they they do these single file columns into the Capitol, which there's plenty of video of, and all of those guys have been arrested, and all of them are like, if they let me out, I'll do it again. And you're like, that doesn't. Is the FBI like the mafia, where like you get stripes for doing your time and keeping your mouth shut? So the Biden DOJ is jailing their own informants. I can't figure this out. I can't figure it out. I'm baffled. The logic is so poor, I can't make it work. If this was a movie, I'd walk out. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Yes, and by the way, excellent job pointing out in the chat room. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah, Nick Rich. 90 clips totaling less than an hour of the 40,000 hours of stuff. Yeah, because they're all minute-long clips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they let like a certain group of Republican like firebrand lunatics like Benny Johnson and others get access to it. I don't know why. I don't know what the Pez dispenser looks like of idiots that they're getting to come in there. But, and then those folks were responsible for spreading it to the rest of the maggot sphere.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's the laundromats. It's the laundromats. I don't know why that line gets stuck in my head from Deep Cover.
What's that from?
Deep Cover. The Jeff Goldblum, Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, yeah. I know you love your Jeff Goldblum 80s movies. Early 90s.
Yeah. I mean, it's no Mr. Frost, but Lawrence Fishburne is fantastic in that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I'm blitzing on his name, the actor who played Huggy Bear in Mod Squad. He blitzing on his name. But anyways, he plays a cop in it who is a Christian and refuses to swear, and he's like this symbol of purity that's like old school, and he's so good. It's just so good. And Antonio Fargas, I think so. Hold on, let me see. Now I gotta look up. Yeah.
Stand by, coming back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Sometimes we just get into a little like MAGA like circle where the rest of you almost need like a palate cleanser to remind yourself of that. Oh, there's actually life out there. Johnny, and by the way, I would like to compliment you on your T-shirt wear on the show today, which people can at Infotainment Wars can see. He's wearing a King's X shirt, and if you don't know King's X, you should know King's X musically. By the way, it was Clarence Williams III. I beg your pardon, who we were talking about during the break, who's in Deep Cover. I don't know why they buried him so far down in the credits when I was looking for it. I was blitzing on Clarence Williams' name. Just a fantastic actor with such clarity and realism and genuine emotion in his eyes. You know, he's present in everything, which is what I always look for. One of the things I always hate in an actor is if you can see the page. You can see them wrestling with the page. And you never can with him. He was Lincoln Hayes. That's right. You're right. Thank you. I wasn't alive then, and I didn't have a TV till I was 15. So I used a TV reference earlier, which was my mistake. For a 60s TV reference at that, or like early 70s. Anyways, point being, sometimes you just need a palate cleanser on that. And I'm wearing a Nice Guys T-shirt because if you haven't seen the movie The Nice Guys, you have to. And I have to say, this one of the people who went to the floor of the House this week to, for lack of a better word, kvetch about the deal that they made and the big stupid that is the Republican Party's. I am hesitant to call it strategy. I don't think you can call it a strategy when you let Matt Gaetz do it. When Matt Gaetz is in charge of whatever it is, it ain't a strategy. It's maybe at best a roll of the dice. Maybe at best. You know what I mean? Like, maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe it'll be random enough that, anything's better than this is the theory, which is not true. And by the way, this is the same crap that they complain about from, Marxist lefties who want to destroy the country and believe we need to tear it all down and start over. And, and the riots of 2020 and all the people that were, the idea that BLM is run by Marxists and all that all that complaint boils down to the fact that, at essence, those people want to bring down society and start from scratch, either in this idea on the left that we've mucked it up and it was this utopian kind of, lions and lambs living together, Eden view of human interaction before governments and nation states happened. This fantasy that's how things used to work when it never did. And then, but if you knock it all down and you start from scratch, it'll be a big kumbaya thing. It'll be like right after a hurricane for a little while, like when everybody's, kind of helping each other until the looting starts. Like in between the hurricane and the looting, that period, the Susan Sarandons of the world, like that's the idea, is if we can just tear this down, its default position is kumbaya, my lord, and it ain't. On the right wing, there is a similar fantasy. It is identical, I would argue. But they think that if you knock it all down, it doesn't go back to some sort of campground. It goes back to the Wild West. And if I'm armed and society collapses, I'll be the gunslinger with the fastest draw. You can tell they all live within that fantasy. And Chip Roy is one of those guys. Chip Roy is I guess, labors under the hilarious misapprehension that he would be an alpha in the Old West. And yes, especially, Can't Stop Lying, bless you. Yeah, especially Gorka. Sebastian Gorka is one of the people in Trump's cabinet who thinks somehow that in his mind, they're all gunslingers. To it, I would argue, most of those folks died of gangrene from nicks and cuts. So the idea that we're going to, again, when you zero society back to its baseline, I'll tell you, one thing there isn't is ammo factories. Nobody's making a lot of ammo, guys. You're going to make your own. Good luck with that. Stuffing musket balls down a barrel with a stick and going, how fast we get back to machine guns? That was a game. That was fun. And on the far left, there's no such thing as universal health care when everyone's got gangrene and cholera. So, right? When the doctor is sick and his suggestion is a leech. I don't know, maybe we try leeches again. Maybe that was a big lie. Maybe I mean, the elites told us that leeches don't work, right? Okay. Both those groups are the same people. They're the exact same people. They just were born into families that either sent them to Jesus camp or a Montessori school where they, where all the crackers have to be ethically sourced and cast no shadow, otherwise they're, environmentally unfriendly. And so they're at the extreme ends of these two spectrums. Tons of overlap. That would be what we call horseshoe theory out there. While the rest of us, it seems, are trying to just get on with it. It's trying to recognize that, society is on its way. We're not at the end. And this goes back to sort of all the evangelicals that are always convinced that the rapture is going to happen on their watch. It hasn't happened for 2,000 years, but now that I'm here, this is it. Is the same thing on the sort of scientific, social side of things, where you're like, okay, so human beings have been interacting for millennia and they've been warring and doing all kinds of stuff. But now that I'm here, this is the end of the conveyor belt. I'm going to put the finishing touch on the toy before it ships. Everything, everybody else has been tinkering with this thing and they haven't got it right, but I'm just going to put the finishing touch, paint a smile on it and off it goes. Yeah. And that, both of those theories are, I'm here to tell you, lunacy. That it is not how anything works. It's never been how humanity works. And the idea that you can even if it turns out that you were right in either of those circumstances, the way to make those two things not happen is to act like it. Because literally the Bible says nobody will know when the rapture is coming. So if you go, I figured it out, you'll stop it from happening because it has to reset, doesn't it? Thank you, Roy, for becoming a Patreon. That's lovely. And on the, social science end of it, like, I finally figured out how to bring people together. And then you tell them, look what happened to Jesus. They nailed him to something. There's a point where that process is going to be a process until people have forgotten there was a process even needed. And one of the examples I would give of that is what I would call the graveyard tap dancing that happens when someone awful goes. And that brings us to the kind of crisscross of Rosalind Carter passing and being lovely, and Henry Kissinger dying and not. And I think we can all agree. Henry Kissinger is in the arc of humanity on the bad form of almost everything.
Dude.
His last international visit was to the CCP, who viewed him as a crucial ally. Now, why would the architect of some of the dumber strategies around Vietnam be considered a crucial ally to the CCP, a long-term friend of the CCP? Well, if you don't know that China attacked Vietnam after we did, you might never put it together. One of the reasons why there was a measured failure based on the ideology and the strategic thinking of Kissinger is that was part of the plan. That Kissinger himself was a Machiavellian figure with no allegiance to anyone except himself and whatever power and strategy he could get, and effectively positioned himself as a person who would suggest strategies and messaging around the Vietnam War that would ultimately make it unwinnable. Mm-hmm. And then advise the CCP, the Chinese government, from that point on, and perhaps during, we can't really tell because, we don't have the media then that we have now. But recognizing the fact that all along this way, this would be helping them set this up, and then when it didn't work out, they bugged out, and helping them just economically open to the West and build this bide your time and hide your strength strategy that we've heard so much. Yeah. Kissinger himself very well could have just been on the CCP's side since the 60s. And everybody along the way who was like, well, he gave some good advice, and this one little piece worked, but this part didn't. Yeah, Cambodia was one of his impact points. And the strategy that the CCP has had since its post-Vietnam era has been to bully and marginalize everyone else in the South China Seas and take over any possibility of industrialization by them ever since. And Kissinger, being, applauded by the CCP in his last round before he passes away at 100 years old, because only the good die young, very, very clearly should draw attention to the fact, should very clearly draw attention to the fact that Kissinger himself and the CCP have been trying to gut the smaller countries in the South China Sea and effectively tourniquet India's attachment to the rest of the world around that channel since the 60s. And that may have been, more than any other aspect of his advising our leaders and advising their leaders, his primary plan, his primary focus was growing the CCP into the monster that it is today at the expense of not just the United States, but of India and every small country in the South China Seas, and I would argue as well, perhaps out of vengeance against Japan at one point, but certainly South Korea as well, and Japan. And again, will this be a teachable moment for when people are giving you long-term advice that doesn't work out, continuing to listen to them without at least understanding that they might be on the other side of the table. We'll be back with Philip Ittner, who's live in Ukraine right after this commercial break. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up right now while you're in here. Chat room, help us let people see us. That'll help. Give a like. We'll be back. American Psycho, the Psycho American. What's up, Phil?
Hey, bud.
Hi. Yeah,
Hey, so hi guys. I have a Chicago. I'm gonna play a little bit of music.
Oh, look out!
When we come back, I don't want you to freak out. I researched it. It's non-proprietary, as long as it is in the original language. So I researched it. If you want me to spoil the surprise, so that you can do a quick research and make sure that you're okay with it,
I'm going to guess
I'll tell you what it is. Oh,
I'm fine with it as long as it doesn't have any swears or anything. I'm fine with it.
No swears. It's in the original language. As long as it's not in the English version, it's not proprietary. So I don't want to spoil any surprises. So
keep it. Cool. Is it for your happy ending or anything like that, or is it?
No, I don't want to. We've got
it right away.
Kate McCucci for the end. I want to do it from the top.
Okay, great.
If that's okay with you, look at me being dictatorial. R.I.P. Shane. I just listened to the Boys in the NYC, which I know isn't the title of the song, but oh god, it's such a pity. That's such a beautiful song.
Hold on one second. I don't know if I gotta bump this over. Hold on. Studio. There we go. There we go. It's a good look.
You like that?
I do. I'm a big fan.
I thought I'd go. I thought I would mimic my gnome.
Yeah, it's
my gnome.
People have been clamoring for this, Phil.
Yeah. Hold on, let me do this. Make it Johnny Million bigger, because that's what I do. Whee! Oh, I gotta.
Hey now.
Yeah. Hello.
Without any lubrication and from kilometers away.
Right. I have no fear. Okay. And then I got to do this with me. Hold on.
I'm happy to center myself. I like having my elf.
Oh no, it's good. No, it's just that if you have your elf, if you center yourself, we can't see it. So it's weird because the frame is square.
That's right. That's why I go.
You list
over
support.
to my.
Hold on.
I go to my right third.
That's right. So hold on one second. I'm gonna open this up once we get back. I don't mind messing around with it. It's all right. Hold on, guest. It's always something. There we go. There's the gnome.
There he is.
Yep.
There he is. We haven't named him. Should we name him? Taurus. Let's call him Taurus.
Taurus?
We'll call him Taurus after Taras Shevchenko.
For Taras Shevchenko, is he a well-known gnomish figure in Ukrainian history?
Taras Shevchenko is the Robert Burns or the Shakespeare or the Rumi rather. Of Ukraine. He's the poet laureate.
Rumi.
Have you ever read any Rumi? Have you ever read any of Rumi's poems? Bloody hell.
I was making a joke about the way
it being Rumi.
Anthony Hopkins says Rumi in about the victims. Was she a big girl?
Pop culture.
Rumi.
Always pop culture.
Yep.
Always pop culture.
There we go.
Here I am trying to bring a little bit of
culture, actual culture,
not pop culture.
Refinement.
What's the opposite?
And I bring up
pop culture.
I bring up some.
And there you go.
Some hack phoned in performance by some Welsh phony.
Yeah, some Welsh. Yeah. Some dilettante actor. This guy, what's his name again? I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom.
Just trying to keep it classy.
That's just
I do.
rude.
It works.
That's just rude.
Okay, so hold on one second. I need to open up another page real quick. Hold on. In this thing, when we're coming back.
We're 20 seconds away.
Excellent.
There you go.
Copy that.
Yeah. So there's. I don't make this back up.
I'm doing all the Christmas stuff because sadly, I think I may have to disappear for a couple of weeks because I got to go back to the States for some stuff that I wish I didn't have to do, but
Understood.
I do. But I'll keep you posted.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you if the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Well, the weather outside might not be frightful where you are yet, but it certainly is where our dear friend Philip Ittner is. He's in Ukraine right now. Johnny Million's with us as well, and Johnny will be watching for our questions in the chat room. If you have a question for Phil, he's in Ukraine right now, in Kiev. He is indeed, for those of you listening on the radio, wearing a Santa hat, which has been a request for quite some time. I think just to, because of the beard in general, and yeah, it's a good look.
I have a little something to play here.
Okay.
And I checked that it was non-proprietary.
Right.
So here we go. Now I'll explain why I'm playing this, but give me a minute and see if you can recognize this tune.
Okay. I don't hear it yet.
See if I can get it. No, we don't hear it yet.
No, we'll hear it.
Here it comes.
Oh, sure. Now, first of all, on the one hand, I feel like I'm full of Christmas spirit all of a sudden, and on the other hand, I feel like I'm about to fall down a flight of steps in an Omen movie. So there's a thin line in the sound.
Okay. Well, this song is called Shadrach. It is not the song that we know, which is the Choir of the Bells, and this is with
Carol of the Bells.
The choir,
Carol of the Bells, right.
Carol or the choir, yeah, Carol, generally Carol. Well, anyhow, which is the English language version.
Yeah.
Everybody
do you
knows
know who
that's
wrote
by the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, who's the only transsexual orchestra in the world.
Do you know who wrote this song?
No, who wrote it?
This is written by a Ukrainian by the name of Mikhailo Leontovich. Mikhailo was a Ukrainian who was born in the kind of turn of the century at the end of the imperial czarist time, right before the czarist, right before the Soviet Union reclaimed Ukraine. Now, why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because this song was taken on tour as Ukraine went internationally in that interim period between the fall of czarist Russia and the rise of the Soviet Union, that little window of time, about 100 years ago, when Ukraine was a sovereign state. And they went around in what was a promotional tour, basically. And this was his song. It was based on a Ukrainian village tune called Shadrach. Had nothing to do with Christmas, had nothing to do with winter solstice, had nothing to do with anything. But it was so beloved, especially in the United States, that they eventually put lyrics, English language lyrics to it. Again, there's a reason for my madness, why I'm playing this song, why I'm telling you this story, because Leontovich was a Ukrainian nationalist. He was somebody who believed in the identity of Ukraine and that the Ukraine should be independent of Moscow. He was assassinated by KGB, well, the precursors of the KGB. Right before they invaded Ukraine, they killed him because they knew
they push him out a window?
that he would be. No, they poisoned him.
As they are wont to
It's
do.
really one or the other, isn't it?
It's one or the other with the Russians.
Cement poisoning.
Because they knew he was going to be a problem. They knew he was going to be a problem. So and I outlined this, by the way, in a vlog that I did last year for a Ukrainian Christmas vlog. And it's long, but it's cut up into chapters. So go check out that vlog if you're so inclined. But the reason I'm telling you this story is because, like so many things in Ukraine, there is a beauty and a sadness to this story. Because while he was assassinated by Russians, the song itself was so beloved that it couldn't be extinguished. And to this day, we listen to that song. And Leontovich's creation couldn't be destroyed by the Russians.
There you go.
So I love that song, and it takes on special meaning for me now every year, after having kind of researched the history of it. So when you're, for the audience, when you're listening to that song this year,
know that it was written by a Ukrainian and it survived them trying to extinguish the Ukrainian identity. And I will apologize for not knowing it by either of those names and always just referring to it as the Ding Dong song. And because they go ding dong.
Because you're a classy guy like that.
Yeah, because that's because that's the kind of Christmases we have in my house. It's like, look, when we stuff stockings, we mean it. Now, the if I may, hey,
TMI.
That was an irony. Anyway, so by the way,
so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's
so now properly into the holiday season.
That's great, absolutely.
But
now
let's talk about what's happening.
Yeah, let's talk about what's happening here. Okay, so apparently there were a lot of developments around the Kherson region, and there was a video I watched that was talking about how the Ukrainian forces have advanced past Krinky and established a foothold in a forest area where that's beyond the line, and that's been causing a lot of panic. And since the weather, I guess, improved recently, the Russians tried to push back on this. They were bombing the areas, but they ran out of stuff and they ran out of guys. And so basically the prep is done, and it looks like what was supposed to be the spring offensive is actually a winter offensive, and that's what they're taking here. That it was always like, let's tell them it's a spring offensive, have them spend everything they can trying to stop it, and then make it a winter offensive. It looks like they baited through the international press and through everyone else, the rest of the world, into buying that it's a spring offensive. And so that would explain why the Russians would fight so hard at Avdiivka and other places, because they think this is the final push. And then they spent all their munitions and their guys, and now they're left with this Kherson advance with nothing to do. No, like nothing. Yeah. They're out of footage. Sorry, they're out of ammo.
and they're out of ammo and they're out of maneuver.
Yeah.
They're committed to Avdiivka, which is north of the area we're talking about. For those of you who don't have a Ukrainian map right in front of you, all of the fighting is along the river line, the Dnipro, which basically separates Ukraine in half. The Russians have committed themselves to basically a tank battle outside near in and around a town called Avdiivka, which is kind of near Bakhmut and that kind of area, which they continue to think that what they can do, apparently, this is the only explanation I can give for Russian military thinking, is that they think they can maneuver around and cut off like Kharkiv, which is a town in the northeast, and then kind of eke their way towards the river, cross the river, and then head towards Kiev. That's the only explanation I can give for their military thinking, because it's ridiculous. What has happened is that while they were concentrating up there with their Russian forces, the Ukrainians crossed the river down south across the river Dnipro, and they've been pushing out ever since. And what that means is that they are going to be closer and closer to cutting off the land bridge, which will legitimately put the Crimean Peninsula so intrinsic to the Russian sense of self as empire that the Ukrainians will be closer and closer to cutting that off, and that will be a defining moment of this war. And you're right, you're absolutely right in that The Ukrainians have said that there is no limitation on when this offensive is going to be conducted. It is not a spring offensive. It's not a summer offensive. It's we're going to continue to take. Now there's going to be limitations because we're in a period right now where things are going to turn to slush and there's going to be a lot of mud and there's going to be, so there will be limitations on what they can do. But I'm not sure if the spring offensive, quote unquote, that everybody talked about, was really kind of a ruse, because I think they did want to achieve more ground coverage. They wanted to regain more ground than they were physically able to do, because unfortunately the Russians were able to put so many minefields and defenses around the area to the east of, again, if you don't have your map out, there's a town like halfway between these locations I'm talking about called Zaporizhia, and Zaporizhia directly to the east leads to severing that land bridge. And that, I think, is where they wanted to go. But because of the defenses, they had to adjust. I don't think Kherson was ever out of the military strategic thinking, because Kherson is a really important city. It's the only city that remained in Russian hands, and now there is no major city. But once you cross the river, once you've crossed that physical barrier, you're in a whole different world. So, Zelensky himself has said that we're on the verge of a new phase in this war.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's talking about. That
well, as an example, and I'll show this online for people who are watching the live stream to talk about.
There you go.
Yeah. So here's the map of the Kherson region where they have breached across this, and you can see that from the last time we looked, there was like there were like openings that for people listening at home were maybe like on a big map pulled out about where like I don't know, an inch is about 10 kilometers or whatever. There was about like a quarter of an inch of distance in a couple of areas past the river. Now there is a half an inch to a quarter of an inch across the entire range. That has shifted this entire fight. I'll even bring it in further so people can see. But initially, the area that was very small, right around one area, is now fully extended all the way down to effectively where it breaks away from the land. And that
into the Black Sea.
That's right, into the Black Sea. So all the way down to a place called like Holopristan, which is one of the smaller towns that still the Russians still have it. But this is all disputed or taken territory. It has widened immensely across these watery areas before the freeze, which is kind of crucial to this. The other thing too is, if people are looking at the live stream with us and the map, and if you're at home and you're just listening, you can go to deepstatemap.live, and the Deep State map, they really do update it all the time using satellite imagery and geolocation services on stuff like that. And they've been really tight to where territorial lines are. Both the Ukrainians definitely have control, where the Russians definitely have control, and where there's any kind of disputed territories or back and forth. A lot of this stuff.
Well, of course they should check out the map there, but more importantly, they should follow on the live stream, because you want to see my lovely Santa hat or my Ukrainian Christmas gnome or Olga.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to watch here. I mean, I
know.
love that map.
I insist. I'm trying to be helpful to people who have, perhaps there are ADA reasons where they might view or hear the show or see the show through different methods. There's all kinds of stuff that they might have addendums to. I'm just being inclusive. But
very
what I will say,
very thoughtful.
Yes, what I will say. Oh, we got to go past this break. When we come back, I want to talk about the fact that there used to be troops way up in the north, and there were almost none where this offensive across the Dnipro was happening. And now Russia has started relocating a bunch of these folks, but they don't have enough, and they're too sporadic. We'll show that when we come back.
And it's reactionary, not proactive.
That's right. They don't have a strategy. We'll be back. Sorry, the next break's going to be really short. But
I'll be right back. I've got to see if the cat's actually dying.
I see. Yeah, so like we've seen this stuff up here. Like you can see around the strategically around.
Oh, they're gonna win.
These are,
They're gonna win.
Look at Avdiivka.
It's just
this
so
is
I
so
know.
nuts.
I know.
I don't get it.
know.
So you've got these guys creating a bridgehead way down in the south. They're gonna take Crimea this way. That's how you would do it. It's not even if they're gonna try or whatever. If they want to take Crimea, that's the only way you do it. The only way you do
there
is down here.
You could see the strategic. If you wanted to, you could do Zaporizhia to the sea because it's kind of the shortest.
Right, but you also have to fight. You still have to fight through all this stuff. But if you go right here,
then
this
you'd
is
have
all
forces
water
to your south and your
yeah.
That's right. And
all you got to do is
defending
we've been talking about the split between the Sea of Azov and the Dnipro itself, like further up here. Yeah. But without really taking into account all the waterways that are along Crimea down here, this is all water. These are all lakes and saltwater lakes down here.
Canals and riverways.
Yeah. Look at the distance from here to here. Waterway to waterway to the edge of Crimea. This roadway right here. You cut this off. There's nothing in here. There's nobody.
M41, I believe it's called.
Right. You cut this. This is a shorter distance here to here than even up, in this region where we were talking about them moving into Mariupol.
Attention. Stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So
they went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Help us spread it around the interwebs. If you go to infotainmentwars.com, that'll take you to the YouTube channel. If you like the stream today, it bounces us up into the, hey, look what's live portion of the internet and helps us out in the algorithm. It makes a lot of difference. And thank you guys for the super chats as well. Johnny Million and I will try and keep track of them. And for the cheers and bits on Twitch, every little bit helps. And if you're on Facebook, you can use... stars. That's one of the ways that Facebook can allow you to support the show. Memberships are always available, and you can also gift those to people on your respective website, as it were. Now,
thank you, Bobby Brunswick.
Thank you, Bobby Brunswick. There you go. So, you didn't go check on the cat. You went and got a cookie, Johnny Million.
I did both.
Okay, all right. Well, as long as you do both. So we were talking about before how one of the there she is.
Aww.
She's ancient. So we were talking about how, like, Avdiivka, we've seen troop movements around that area, and for whatever reason, the Russians are just hell-bent on this Avdiivka thing in the same way that they were after Bakhmut long-term. And I would argue that that's where the bait-and-switch part of this happens. Something's going on that they seem to think that's crucial, or somebody's got, whether Putin's just in a fever dream, he's got a religious advisor, like Nancy Reagan's astrologer who's whispering in his ear and saying, if you take Avdiivka, the gods will bless us. Maybe that's it, because it doesn't make any strategic sense beyond that. And so much so they were holding back troops from this area where the Ukrainians had made it across the Dnipro and started gaining territory. And they have gained the entire area on the eastern side of the Dnipro, from the river inlet at the top, the big opening, to the Black Sea. Now, that is now claimed.
When Burnham Forest will come to Dussenyane.
That's right. It's exactly what happened. You see, he keeps classing us up in spite of ourselves. It's a lovely thing. But like, they're finally putting some troops in these areas, and most of them are like, obviously pushing back a little bit in areas because they're starting to get nervous about it. And they've got some backup troops in this area, but they've got no supply routes because Sevastopol.
Well, they even pulled in some air power, which they're you're reluctant to do because of Ukraine's air defenses. They have called in fighter bombers, which they would never do. Unless they felt that it was that they were in a desperate position.
Right, and that's a huge part of this.
The one other thing that I want to mention about this whole thing is that as they push out, as the Ukrainians push out from their foothold that they have on this side of the river, is that they've basically already made it. but
Yeah.
they are, if they haven't completely made it, they're just within, spitting distance
Right.
of an entire forest section in this area. And forest provides cover, it provides defense, so you can move armored units, you can move infantry, you can mounted infantry can go into these forested areas. Satellites won't be able to pick them up as easily. They will be, they won't be as easily pinpointed by artillery.
Mm-hmm.
This is a major strategic advantage development for the Ukrainians. It's, it's just it's getting to a point, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it's I can't tell you the time frame of when this is, all going to happen, but there are certain indicators where it's like, oh, this is going one way. Inevitably, this is going one way, and the Ukrainians are going to win this war.
Right.
The Ukrainians are going to win this war.
Let me tell you something. So
there was nutty.
A story that came out that the State Department has issued that its goal is to halve Russian revenues by 2030, so that Russia as a country is making half the money, bringing it in mostly around exports, half Russian exports by 2030. This was once they attacked Ukraine, this became the strategic kind of diplomatic end of this war. I would like to let you know that they are way ahead of schedule, and that on top of that, there was I did a story on my live stream about how, remember in the beginning of this, Russia was going to force everybody to buy their oil in rubles, and that was one of the things that shored the ruble up and made it magically superior to every other currency. And there was all this story about how the ruble might be the new petrodollar, and how China and everybody are out, and stupid America does not realize how powerful Russia is. Okay. We found out this week that China only wants to buy Russian oil in yuan, and India wants to buy it in rupees. Neither one of them will take rubles for the oil exchange, even for their change. And the effectively, because of the sanctions, the only thing you can buy with yuan, because the rest of the world doesn't want them either. Nobody's investing in China because of all the exodus of capital from China. Nobody wants it. Nobody needs yuan to do business in China. China's trying to suck up dollars so that they can pay their bond issuances, and they can't get rid of yuan fast enough. So where's Russia going to spend those yuan? Back in China. Same thing with the rupee. Now, the rupee has a bigger audience in the rest of the world because it's a big functioning billion-person economy, and there's more flow in it. But the exchange of the rupee is pretty poor. Like, you're not going to get a lot for them. There's too many in circulation because of the billion-person economy. There's no way you can create a deep desire for rupees the world over because there's too many of them sitting around. That's one of those areas where if there's a lot of something, nobody wants it. It's like, you can't charge a high price for it. Rupees in a different situation, but still not useful for anything but buying from India. Well, Russia doesn't buy anything from India. They do buy a lot of stuff from China. And so effectively, the Chinese yuan, insofar as Russia's economy, has simply become a yogurt customer card, like a frequent buyer card, or a GameStop gift card, or Starbucks points, I think is probably the best analogy, is that you can only use them there. And our good friend Simonian herself was complaining, apparently, on this shows and these things.
Yes.
She was very upset.
She was trying to put lipstick on a pig by saying, "Oh, I buy lots of I buy knockoff Gucci fakes, and I have my new Chinese car, which I love so much." Like, openly saying, "Yeah, I can't afford the good stuff, so I'm now buying cheap knockoff."
So
versions.
so she was saying that she has been compelled to purchase knockoffs. She claims that the quality of her knockoff off-brand Chinese clothing and shoes are excellent, and that Chinese cars are equal to German-made brands. Well, they look like them because they're built off the same frame and they have the same fabrication plant. But there's a reason why they call BYD burn your driveway, because the electric batteries in them are very dangerous. Remember all the like the hoverboards that were bursting into flames in people's garages, the cheap like two-wheeler hoverboards. Okay, those are the same batteries that are in Chinese passenger cars.
That's why you can't put them in your checked luggage.
That's right, because they don't know where they're from,
and they could burst into flames.
That's right.
Yeah, and then add to this the economic. I mean, we're openly now. Well, not openly. We now have a policy to take money from Russian oligarchs and give it to Ukraine for reconstruction.
Yep.
I mean, there's footage out in Russia's far east of them battling over, and we complain about eggs and inflation in the United States. We haven't gotten to the point where they're having open fistfights over eggs like they are in the Far East in Russia.
Yeah,
and keep in mind that the Russians like
the Farallon Islands
connected to the provinces. When it starts getting to St. Petersburg or Moscow,
ouch,
different story.
Yep, we'll be back right after this with more with your questions. Johnny Million is going to farm some of those for us, and Philip Bittner right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. So this was the implosion, the glorious implosion of the and I don't know why they use gray type on this site, but it's hard.
Yeah, no,
Central Bank of the Russian Federation admitted that no one needs the ruble on the world market. Nobody needs it. It's a local, but like spoof currency. It's monopoly money. Nobody cares. It's going to be people are getting some rubles just as a like they have Confederate dollar bills. Like collectors are getting rubles right now because the year it was like get one printed the year the ruble died. So crazy. So yeah, nobody needs the Russian ruble in the international market. Only Russia itself uses trade operations, even mainly circumvent Western sanctions. The conclusion suggests itself from the review of market risks published by the Central Bank of the Russian Federation. So this is their number. This is them putting this out. They're like, nope, nobody. Thus, the share of the ruble in payment for Russian exports is now 40%, which is 10 to 15% more than pre-war level. Yeah, that's right. Russian imports are paid for in rubles by 30%, which corresponds to pre-war indicators. Ugh, just ass.
No, they're done. They're
yeah.
I don't know why anybody thinks that Russia is even remotely
just to be a jerk
out of this pattern. Yeah, you know, rose-colored glasses. McGregor put something out today, I think, and it was just
God,
dude.
I know I'm only on 1 day a week. I get it. I'm gonna have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So there's a map that I just showed online too as well. These are drone strikes by the Ukrainians in the Russian-held territories and inside Russia by by people in Russia. These aren't coming across the border. These are one of them might be a cross-border thing because it's hard to tell where the area is, but the rest of them on the inside of Russia are from anti-Russian forces within Russia and that kind of stuff. And they also, and I'm sorry to tell Simonia in this, but the series of strikes that happened recently where they've hit like 9 places, the first targets were 2 major railway lines between Russia and China. 2 railway lines.
Including a tunnel.
That's right, yeah. So, which are really hard to fix. It's bad enough fixing a bridge, but that's out in the open. Ask the Indian guys who were just trapped in the mine what it's like to bore out a new tunnel. Before I get into another rant, though, please, Johnny Million, let's throw a question Phil's way from our chat room.
Absolutely. We've got a question from Ed's 3D Tech. Can you ask Philip about all the short circuits in Russia?
I mean, their electrical grid is in deep trouble. There's the fifth columnists inside Russia, blowing things up. And there's the fact that they have decided it's much more intelligent to send their electricians and their electrical engineers to a front line where they're just going to be chewed up as cannon fodder, instead of staying in Russia and helping with their electrical grid. It's a whole combination of stuff. And also they can't, because of the sanctions, they're having trouble getting replacement equipment and things like that. I mean, it's the strain on Russia's infrastructure is enormous. They like to ignore it. They like to pretend it isn't happening, but it is. And we'll see how it goes this winter. But I mean, if that's what he was asking me about, I mean, that's the situation, is the fact that their electrical grid is under such strain and it has a lack of manpower to repair it, and can't get equipment from external sources to repair it. So they're going to have blackouts and things like that. But they have a propensity for suffering. So
on the other end of it, I would also like to bring up the fact that in 2019, when Donald Trump was, historically people will remember how he cradled the testes of Vladimir Putin at every opportune moment during his presidency. In 2019, the U.S. and Russia exchanged a bunch of sort of minor cyber warfare over their attacks on our power grid. And they attacked multiple areas. Our whatever CISA or whatever it is, our cyber command was constantly going. Russia is attacking hospitals. They're attacking power grid areas around hospitals and that kind of stuff. But if Donald Trump wasn't so friendly with Vladimir Putin, these are acts of war. This will get people killed. And it became a regular part of this guy. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov in 2019 said reports that U.S. cyber soldiers had put computer viruses on its electrical grid were a hypothetical possibility following the response that they had attacked us. So what we did was, instead of just shorting stuff out, we sent them, we put viruses in their electric grid, some of which we triggered at the time, some of which, quite frankly, might have been just sitting dormant. And it's not like they update stuff like that in Russia, on the regular. They take great care of their electrical grid, because they don't. And I'll show you real quick on the chat. There's let's see, pop this over here. One of the biggest problems they have over there is this is a paper from Strategy Page, but you can find it posted elsewhere. This is the only way I could find it in a hurry. That just was put out. Russia: sabotage, incompetence, and corruption in Russia. The problem with their electrical grid has a lot more to do with those three corresponding things: idiots who don't know what they're doing, corruption by people who have sold off insulating materials so that wires are bumping up against each other. I would argue that a bunch of their techs and their electricians have been sent to the war to die, and then internal sabotage beyond that.
Keep in mind, in mind, of course, the huge, vast areas of Russia, you can't survive unless you have electricity or heating. I mean, it goes to minus 30. I mean, this is crazy cold stuff.
Yeah, permafrost.
They're
60%.
Yeah, and they're not going
of the year.
They knock out the power grid. They knock out the power grid in California or Texas or something. It's bad. It's real bad, as we've seen, like in Texas when you lost the grid in Texas. But it's not like minus 30, where like people in the tens, if not hundreds of thousands, will be at risk of dying.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy.
Well, we have a support structure. We have a diverse.
Yeah, push comes to shove. Also, we have
a state National Guard. We've got Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
We've got the National Guard. We've got military options in almost every state that has that kind of draw, especially Texas and California. If there's a situation like that, we can do stuff about it. If a fire like happened in Hawaii happens in Russia, it just happens and keeps happening. Like there's no one coming. It just will burn itself out. But anyways, let's grab another question, Johnny.
Sure. The next question is from me, from David Fisher. They've got a question. Have you ever played a baritone guitar? My buddy has 2 of them, and I think I need one. I have. They are very cool.
I have one as well.
All right. So
I doubled all the rhythm tracks on the rhythm tracks on eight songs on my on the 01 record with a baritone guitar. Yeah, you have to reshape the riff, but because the tuning's different, but it does give it it gives it a sub bed. Just saying, it's pretty great. All right, go ahead.
So the next question is from Victor H. Ask Philip about the train tunnel that got blowed up in eastern Russia. Did you guys just talk about that?
Well, there we go. That's what we just talked about. You know, and if you cut off things like that to China, especially, you know, like a tunnel, which you would then have to bore out again, and you won't get it done in a winter. You know, it's very, very smart. It's very smart cutting off connections between China and Russia.
Right. Let's grab another one, Johnny.
Sure thing. From Connie Kelly. SIM cards were discovered in the SHAHED equals 136 drone shot down in Russia or shot down in Ukraine. They were on Kiev Telecom. Is the telecom system safe? Question mark. Boards were taped down to the drones, not commercial.
Yeah, I mean they're taking these chips as they absorb.
Also, they're made. Territory. A lot of those chips are made in China as well, even though they're made for Kiev Telecom, and that might be how they're getting access to them.
That's another great. Is it secure? It's as secure as it can be right now. They're very well aware of it. I mean, IT and IT defense. Cyber defense is a huge part of military spending. And I mean, I know guys that have been taken off of civilian IT projects and put onto military IT projects, you know, defense of the of Ukraine sort of stuff. I don't want to say that it is secure because frankly, I don't think it is. But they're doing their best. But again, you know, a lot of talk was made, a lot of, you know, kind of snickering was done at the beginning of this war about like grabbing refrigerators and launder. Yeah, but those things, the smart ones, smart fridges, they have chips in them.
Yep.
And there's a lot of speculation that actually was what they were doing.
Check this out. So
I'm sure some of it was going to the provinces, to
Russia has started
to girlfriends
asking
and mistresses, but.
Yeah, right. They'll bring on the actual thing. You can take the chip out of it, it'll keep stuff cold. It just won't tell you that you need to buy eggs. There was a big thing where they were asking Russians to donate their vapes when they're done. These those little vape things, because they have a chip in them to regulate the heat and the electronics in there that you can use in drones. So they were basically absconding with people's vapes. The ones that, by the way, and for those
you don't do that unless you're desperate.
Yeah, exactly. And to reference which vape you're talking about, it's the one that looks like a pack of cigarettes with one cigarette sticking up out of the side, which is exactly the one that Republicans said one of the maggots that attacked the Capitol, it was proof that he was an FBI agent showing his badge to people because he showed them, all I've got is a vape, when he was walking in the building, because they didn't know what he had in his hand, and they were like, somebody asked him, is that a gun? And he showed it to them, whatever, like, he's flashing a badge, and then everybody did a image search on it, and it was like, it's a vape. So those very same ones.
Get into the Congress.
That's right. That's all you need. So let's see. Let's grab another one, Johnny. We'll get a quick one before we get to break.
Laura Henderson, please ask Phil how President Zelensky and his family are holding up.
Oh, his family. I mean, he's spoken about this in the past. It's a real strain. It's a real strain because they can't. It's too dangerous for them to, be together for any extended period of time. So his wife and his children are generally kept in a separate location. So, I mean, you can see the strain on Zelensky, the physical strain. It's like a normal president, unlike our last one, always kind of comes out of the office looking worse than when he went in. I mean, you look at Obama, where the gray hair and all the rest of it. Yeah. Zelensky has aged 20 years in the last,
Sure.
year and a half. But there's still, from all outward appearances, there's still very much a unified family, and she has been a very impressive first lady. So let's hope this war ends soon so that they can go down to Odessa, which is apparently where Zelensky wants to go, and put his feet up and have a beer and spend some time with his kids. He's missed a whole chunk of their life. So, but it looks like they're, despite the strain, are still unified. But
right.
Who knows from the outside?
Yeah, let's take a break. We'll have more questions after we come back. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Phil joins us from Ukraine every week in the second hour of the show, and then of course on my Wednesday live stream, the Hump Days with Hal live stream that I do at infotainmentwars.com and on Twitch and elsewhere. He joins me as well for the second hour, so we talk about these things because there's so many updates. A lot of times we don't get into the deep parts of it, and on that one he can swear, so it's helpful. But anyways, we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Let's see.
My cat is so spoiled that if I don't immediately placate to all of her needs, she has an anxiety attack and dry heaves.
He hates me. He's done.
Yep.
I can't show it on. I can't show it on.
Myself.
I can't show it
dry
online.
Heaves, you can show it. I don't mind.
No, I can't show the video that's related to this online. But like a Russian soldier. This is the video. Yeah, a Russian soldier filmed the area around their encampment and posted it online. Basically, sent it home, and it was just bodies and bodies and bodies. They're not picking anybody up. They're just leaving their dead where they fall everywhere. Like bodies on top of bodies. It's like a zombie movie. And like
they're losing.
Yes,
they're losing.
Well, the Ukrainians, when the Ukrainians lose a soldier, they
get
might even lose two more getting their body. They like we do. They risk getting the person. They don't. They pull them off the field. The Russians don't bother. And especially in a situation where you've got like 1,000 dying in one fell swoop.
In a day.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together. Whether the weather is cloudy or sunny, I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together. Whether the weather is cloudy or breezy, I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. Because isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you? Chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together. Whether the weather is cloudy or stormy, I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay! I have a really nerdy happy ending thing that I want to talk about is and it involves goo. As many of the things that I like, there's a new thing I just want to bring out called GDP. It's not what we usually. It's gel dispersed printing, effectively, or gel dispensing printing, which is, you know how like some people may know of like resin printing, where you take this plate of resin and then a laser will heat into the resin as it goes through at different layers at different depths. And it will print the thing in the resin, and then you take it off, and you have to clean it in alcohol, and it stinks, and all that kind of stuff. But it makes really beautiful 3D prints, very smooth. They look like full sculptures and the like. Well, apparently MIT has come up with this new way of 3D printing stuff in gel, and all you got to do is wash it off. It's like in this like vat of goo. I don't even like. Hold on, let's see if I can do this without.
I wasn't hungry before.
But now you will be. I'm going to try and find a video of it, that doesn't embarrass everybody. But it is amazing. They've come up with this. This is I can't do this. Hold on. Don't play this audio. This is so amazing. I'll switch over to this so people can see it on the live stream, whatever. And I know this is nerdy and silly, but it's effectively they just put this. There's this gel that's in there, and now whatever you're printing is not affected by the gravity and weight of the thing that is above it, the way it is in 3D printing, which mashes down on stuff. And they have come up with this system, and apparently, after you're done, and it's really fast. And after you're done, you just take it out and wash it off, and the goo that's still in there is reusable for the next one and the like. And I can't wait to get my hands gooey working on the on this. But again, one of the biggest things we talk about in manufacturing and nearshoring and the changing of how things are going to work, AI and all these things, and how they're going to change the markets around the world, and how you're not going to have to wait for parts from China to do stuff, and you only, especially if you only need them for a short run, that's what cheap labor is about, is like short runs of products, not stuff that's permanent. You could set up a factory that makes bullets the same caliber forever and ever and ever, but if you need a variance in something, that's what gets expensive. And in this particular instance, they are making this stuff, and it is gorgeous. And this means that small businesses can prototype stuff faster than anything else. They are not. It's not affected by gravity. It's the way regular 3D prints or resin ones are.
Same.
And
I'm not affected. think I forgot to tell you how.
You're not affected by gravity? You're not. I cry every time I hear that Our Lady Peace record. But the movie didn't do anything for me. So I don't know what to tell you.
Well, my only happy ending.
Yes.
Is just a little bit more of Shadrach,
Siberian Orchestra.
the Carol of the Bells.
Yep. Very exciting.
This entire holiday season, folks.
Yep.
Every time you hear this song, I want you to think of
Ukraine.
Old Mykola Leontovich and Ukraine, and think of the cultural contributions that they've given and how much we continue and need to continue supporting.
That's right.
You don't get this kind of stuff from despotic.
No, it's all very harsh. It's all very Wagner-y.
All right. Yes. Although I do love my Prokofiev.
Sure.
Anyhow,
well, I mean, art is how you escape authoritarianism a lot of times, and sometimes the worst times create the best art, because the people underneath it, they have to be very clever in infusing their revolutionary ideas and the like into it. So hoping the king is stupid enough not to notice. That's always a part of it. Yeah. Johnny Million, do you have a happy ending of any sort that we should be aware of?
I do, but it's actually in the form of a question from one of the chat.
All right.
Sure.
The PHKO wanted to ask Phil do you know what Santa's elves' favorite music is?
Oh, dear.
Okay, I'll bite. What is Santa's elves'
It's
favorite
rap music.
Ba-dum-bum. Hey, there you go.
Rap music, that's great.
And they said it wouldn't work.
Hold on.
And they said we would. Oh, you made him leave. I hope you're happy.
Oh, God. Gravity is suddenly not affecting Phil.
We lost Phil, and it only cost us one dad joke.
I showed you guys this? This is what Santa's elves build in Ukraine. This is a little wooden HIMARS missile system.
Oh, that's amazing.
Who doesn't want this? Who doesn't want this as a stocking stuffer?
Right, that's amazing.
Little wooden HIMARS.
Hey, well, I don't know why it'd be weird to do that when you have like little green army men that are actually in the movie Toy Story, and we've had those forever. They're some of them holding guns or crouching near a tank or something like that. When you have those things or whatever, it's just a modern version of that. Everybody in the chat is like, I want one. I need one. We'll try and post a link where you can get one after the show. Let's grab another question before we run out of time there, Johnny.
Sure. This is from Campfire Talk. Question for Phil. Have you seen the mural in Kiev, Defenders of Light, dedicated to defense forces?
Yes, I have. It's so beautiful.
That's what
It's really, we have a series of murals in this city, and my favorite before this one was this kind of elfin embodiment of Kiev with like architecture built into her. But this thing that just was unveiled this week is it's a depiction of a guy with an anti-air missile system on a shoulder launch thing. But then, and this is what I love about the Ukrainians so much. But then right beside him is the civil engineer who's going to fix whatever gets broken. I mean, they glorify not only the armed physical defenders of this country, but they recognize and they make heroes out of the guys that fix stuff and keep things ticking over. I mean, this entire country has this sense of unity that I have rarely seen in my life, and it's a beautiful mural. I suggest anybody. I mean, I'm sure it's very easy to look up. Just do a defender of whatever the air or whatever it is. But it's going to be easy to find. But it's a beautiful mural. Yes, I have seen it. It's great.
That's great. And I do think it's another thing I would like to remind everybody that when we talk about on this show, if we thank vets for their service or we remind people to be thankful to them, that includes people in the motor pool and medics, of course, and everybody else who keeps things running, the guys who build the ships and service the ships and service the stuff, because we've
guys who cook the food,
captured because
guys
that
cook
the winners.
As long as they don't, but for the record, that reason is, and I think that's been that stark contrast between us and Russia for that very distinct reason is that those are the people not only that they forget about, but they just blow off that part. And so a lot of their soldiers have died. Let's be abundantly clear. The Ukrainians are doing very well. We're providing them with a decent amount of hardware, and they are definitely bringing it to the Russians. But a statistically significant number of Russians die because the stuff they are working with is substandard, ineffective, or blows up in their face. A truck that doesn't get them where they're going, so they die because they can't escape or they can't move forward. A gun that misfires or jams up when they're taking fire, and then they end up getting killed. Or again, rounds and munitions and stuff that are just poorly constructed that blow them to pieces while they're trying to launch them. Now, I don't necessarily feel bad for them in those situations.
No, I don't either. But and can I just say, having covered the U.S. military for nearly 30 years, let's keep in mind that those guys, whether they're peeling potatoes or whether or not they're defending us with aircraft, or artillery or tankers or whatever, they're away from their families this season. They're deployed. Right. They're all over the place. Okay. So there is no difference in my mind between the guy who changes the oil on the Humvee and the guy who is out there, at the sharp end of the stick. So bear in mind our men and women in uniform this summer. That's right. This season, because God bless them.
Absolutely. And by the way, that was also made very obvious this week when Major General Vladimir Zavadsky, who's a Russian general who was on the front lines, I think up near the Avdiivka area. He stepped on a Russian mine and was killed. He was blown up by one of his own mines. Yep. He perished, quote, as a result of a mine explosion in the rear area and not a military clash with the enemy. That was
which is nowhere near.
Right,
which
he
is
got
nowhere
him right in the rear area.
Yeah, he stepped back.
This is not somewhere generals should be walking around, by the way.
Especially with that much vodka in their belly. Do we have time for one last question real quick?
Sure. AD has a question. Phil, have you heard of parents in Ukraine reuniting their children were kidnapped and taken to Russia?
Yes, I have. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. There's a guy by the name of Mikhailo Kuleba who runs it. I've met Mikhailo a few times. He's a wonderful man with a very big heart. And the bravery of these, secondary and tertiary family members who have to petition to get these young children who, let's face it, are being ethnically cleansed and taken to Russia against their will. And they go and they petition them and say, no, this is my blood and flesh, and I want them back. And Kuleba does wonderful work. In addition to that, of course, there's my dear friend, Dr. Erwin Redliner, who runs the Ukrainian Children's Action Project, a program which I support wholeheartedly and which I suggest, if you want to contribute and make a contribution this winter and this holiday period, Dr. Erwin Redliner, the Ukrainian Children Actions Project. You can't find a finer way to give this season. So it's
Fantastic.
happening, thank goodness. And what the Russians are doing is a crime. And I seriously pray and hope that there will be a comeuppance for them, because it is clear and just fully it's ethnic cleansing.
Yep. Thanks so much, Philip Bittner. Thank you for being with us and bringing the human touch to all this. And enjoy the holidays, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Johnny Million, you're wonderful. I adore you, and you're fantastic and talented and super. And I wish I could do better by you. I wish I could give you a neck rub right now. Same thing to Andrea. Okay, maybe not to do that or whatever. I'll pet the cat. We'll be back next week. See you later. Take care. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. See you later. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you soon. Kind of mashes up well. It's the same key.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chicago.
Thanks, Chicago. Happy holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Happy holidays.
Excellent. Okay, we'll see you guys later. I have to race off because Summer got tickets to the UNLV game that Ethan is filming. So, like, he's doing video work for them.
Sweet.
Yeah, and they're doing great.
I got to go back to the States. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted. All right. I might still be able to do stuff while I'm away.
Oh,
all
yeah.
right.
We'll
see you, Johnny.
We'll meet in Chicago
Thanks,
or something.
Everyone. Happy
Love
holidays.
it.
And all
Okay.
that good
Bye,
stuff.
Johnny. Love you.
Bye,
See you
guys.
All right.
Bye.
All right, guys.
Bye. Thanks so much, chat room. Love you guys. I got to race out as well. Thanks so much for all the support. The super chats today, you guys have been very wonderful and generous, and thank you. It allows me to, to actually not do the show in debt like I did for a decade, because we do the show for free for Chicago. So the only thing that comes from it is your guys' support. And if you can super chat and you can Venmo and all this stuff, we really appreciate it. And of course, becoming a patron is really helpful. But if you can't do that, a like, a thumbs up, a comment, all that stuff always helps. And I'm just saying, you could also stack it. I'm just saying you do both. Maybe just throwing that out there. Thanks, guys. I'm out. Thanks, Gita. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Dina. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Kelly. Bruce Festi. Thank you. Yolanda, thank you so much. Wes. Thanks so much. Sama, Amos, Linda, Deborah, Lucky Roller, thank you. Wayne, Fred Bear, Buzzer, Mike Drove Hall, Off Hard, Kitty K, Tony TV, thank you so much. Wendy, Mountain Lady, thank you. David. Hey, whose face is that? Bouncing around. Mountain Lady, thank you. David, thank you. Jolie. Bless you guys. Okay, I gotta run. I really gotta go. Thank you guys so much.